Hey guys, today we're going to talk about finding the area of a trapezoid, and we'll talk about the formula. We'll kind of explain where everything in the formula comes from. We'll do it in a couple different ways to help us understand. So a couple things before we start showing the formula. With a trapezoid, some of the things we know, well, the opposite sides are parallel. That is the definition of a trapezoid. There's one pair of opposite sides, and the height of a trapezoid is going to be the perpendicular distance from one base to the other. So this trapezoid, we'll call the top B sub 1, the bottom B sub 2. The sides that are parallel to each other are the bases of a trapezoid. So this right here would be the height, and really anywhere from that B sub 1 to B sub 2, a perpendicular line down, even one right here, would also be the height. So that's the height of our trapezoid. I'm going to redraw this because I want to come back to that one. Let's say we have trapezoid like this, and I'll use the same labels, B sub 1 and B sub 2. So let's say we take this trapezoid and we go ahead and clone this, copy and paste this exact trapezoid. So we have an identical congruent trapezoid, and then we take that trapezoid and we rotate it 180 degrees so that our base on the top is now on the bottom, our base on the bottom is now on the top, and these sides, when you rotate 100 degrees, will be on the opposite sides. So will look something like this. This would be B sub 2 now, this would be B sub 1. So this is our identical trapezoid, and we've taken the trapezoid and rotated 180 degrees. And let's say we took this trapezoid and just moved it over and made it so that these two trapezoids were kind of glued together like this. When we flip this trapezoid over, and I'm going to show this line again, these two sides that fall on top of each other, they were the same side, so they were congruent. These two sides correspond with each other, so they would be congruent because we just made an exact copy of the trapezoid. But if you look in this new figure, if you have the trapezoids together, we make a parallelogram. These opposite sides would be parallel and congruent. Together they're B sub 1 plus B sub 2, B sub 1 plus B sub 2. These opposite sides are congruent, and we're going to end up being a parallelogram here. So if we wanted to find the area of this parallelogram, we'll call this whole length B, and we'll call this the height of said parallelogram. Our area would be the base times the height. That's what we know about parallelograms. But now if we go back and say we're going to focus on the two trapezoids now, well, since they are congruent, they have the same area, and since collectively they make the whole area of the trapezoid, if you want to find the area of, or a whole area of the parallelogram, if you want to find the area of one trapezoid, you would just take half of this area. So half the area of that parallelogram that we made. Now the only problem with this is, in our original trapezoid, going back here, we didn't have this B. We had B sub 1 and B sub 2, so we're going to need to replace that with something that references what we had in the beginning. So we have 1/2 times the height, and instead of B, well, B is just the sum of B sub 1 and B sub 2. So B sub 1 plus B sub 2, and this is your formula to find the area of a trapezoid. You multiply 1/2 the height times the sum of the two bases. So that's one way you can kind of think about where this formula is going to come from. 1/2 the product of the height with the sum of the two bases. So I'll go through another kind of example that helps explain it a little bit. It's kind of breaking it into parts and using a little bit of algebra, being a little clever with it. So let's say we have, I guess we can stick with this trapezoid, but instead of calling this, well, this whole bottom side is B sub 2, but I'm going to break it into parts. I'm going to break it into B sub 3 over here. That's going to be this little segment. The middle will be B sub 1 because it's congruent if we drew these two vertical lines down here that are perpendicular. And B sub 4 will be this little segment here. So if we broke this into parts and did areas of each part and added together, we could find the area of this triangle here to the left. That would be 1/2 height times the base. The base is B sub 3. The area of this middle rectangle would be just height times B sub 1, and that would cover all this. And then the area of this triangle, which finishes off the whole trapezoid, would be plus 1/2 height times b sub 4. So this would be the area of the trapezoid. Now we want to clean this up a little bit though, because that's a lot. So one thing that we can look at, we can take out an h from each one of these. So we can factor out an h, and we're left with 1/2 b sub 3 plus b sub 1 plus b sub 4, 1/2 b sub 4. And now we need to, we want to clean it up a little bit more. So here, notice how the first term in the parentheses and the last term both have a 1/2, but the middle term doesn't. But I'm going to rewrite the middle term as 2b sub 1 over 2, and I'm going to factor out a 1/2. So you have 1/2 the height times b sub 3 plus, when you take 1/2 out of this, you factor out the 1/2, you're going to have just 2b sub 1. And then plus b sub 4. And if you were to distribute this through, do the 1/2 times all of them, you're going to end up with 1/2, you're going to end up with 1, you're going to end up with 1/2 here. So we're all good. Now we can go into this middle inside the parentheses, and we can say b sub 3 plus b sub 1 plus b sub 4 plus b sub 1. I'm going to break up this b sub 1 into 2. b sub 1 plus b sub 1 is 2 b sub 1. But right here, b sub 3 plus b sub 1 plus b sub 4, b sub 3 plus b sub 1 plus b sub 4 collectively make b sub 2. So the area is 1/2 the height times b sub 2 plus b sub 1. I'm going to write it like this, change that order, it's fine. And there's your area of a trapezoid. So you can think of it like that, just using the algebra a little bit there to show the formula. So if you have any trapezoid, take the sum of the bases, multiply that by the height, take half of that, you have the area of the trapezoid. Alright guys, have a good day.